Here we are with episode 5 of Somebody's Son. This time we're having a conversation with one of my childhood friends, one of my best homies, Elijah Milligan, and the crowd goes wild.
Hey, brother, thanks for having me, man.
No doubt, no doubt. So, as you all know, well, one, thank you for being here. I'll let Eli get into a little bit about himself in a few, but this is a platform centered around Black men and mental health, fatherhood, parenting, relationships, etc. And so I guess jumping right into it, why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourself? So before we get into it, tell them about who Elijah is. Like I said, we've been friends since before we even knew anything about ourselves. So yeah, tell people who you are, man.
So my name is Elijah. I'm a chef in Philadelphia. Also a single parent, dad first. Oh man,
Yeah, no, that's
pretty basic, man.
Nah, he's definitely not basic. So it's interesting. We both grew up in the church. That's kind of how we met. Our parents were both young moms in the church. We stayed connected throughout our entire lives. And like he said, we're both dads now. He had kids first, I would like to say.
One kid.
one kid. So tell me about that. So you're a single father. Well, you're in a relationship, but you're a single father.
Yes.
How did that come to be? We can start there.
Not to get into the personals, but I've had full custody for my daughter now about 6 years. Her mom kind of just went off the rocker a little bit, but it's been a blessing. It's been great. I'm learning a lot about myself, through this. I didn't grow up with my father around, so, obviously it's a learning curve. I really don't have anything to go off of, so, you just take every day as it is, and, you just try to, there's no blueprint to the parenting, you know that.
No blueprint at all.
Try to make the best decisions, be positive about it, and, and also it can be challenging for the work that I do for a living, being a chef, which we all know is a field that requires a lot of long hours and a lot of time, but, again, take it a day at a time, and, you just gotta be blessed,
So I'm 100% tripping. I completely skipped over the get to know you section.
Yeah.
So we're going to double back. We're going to come back to this. But that was a good point. I don't want to lose that part because we got a lot of chopped up there. But first, if you could eat one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Easy. Pasta. So multidimensional with pasta, different shapes, different fillings, different sauces, easy to store. I mean, it's something that is great, and it's 3 ingredients, right? Like water, flour, some eggs. You can do without eggs or so. It's fulfilling, right? So pasta all day.
Yo, you can tell the difference between having a chef in here and anyone else who's been on so far. This dude talking about the different ingredients pasta. Pasta. All right, pasta. All right. Which superhero would you choose to be for a day?
Can it be a villain too?
Pick whoever you want.
Thanos.
You would pick Thanos. That's that Leo stuff, man. That's definitely that. What's the most unusual item you carry with you every day?
I'm a very prepared person or so. Always have a flashlight and a couple knives in there. So otherwise, nothing too crazy.
I'm glad you said. If you were a hashtag, what would you be?
I think just chef, man.
Chef,
my life, so.
Savage chef. That was the old IG for a while. What's the funniest thing that happened to you recently?
Recently, I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to get back to that one.
All right, that's cool. You can skip
Funny?
it. You can skip it. If you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
I would say real estate.
Real estate?
Yeah.
That's why real estate?
I think it's a great field. I think it's easy to be able to, I think just the idea of like having assets, being able to flip them and, so.
All right. What is your most unusual talent?
My most unusual, a lot of people expect me to be really funny, but I think I'm.
No, that's good. All right. If you could swap lives with any historical figure for a day, who would it be and why?
Obama.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's 2 Obamas in 2 weeks.
Really. I'm always interested in the story behind people. People just see kind of Obama as like president, first Black president, things like that. But I'm always curious about all the things he went through to get to that point, right? Like, couldn't have been easy. And I would love to walk in his shoes for a day.
No, listen, I said I could stomach 24 hours because and we said it last time, you can't have you can't have high highs without low lows.
For sure.
I can only imagine what some of those lows were. I mean, we kind of know from like his book and the
Yeah, but I'm
movie
sure
they
it
put
doesn't
out,
tell
but
all it.
yeah, it's not. It doesn't tell it all for sure. What song best describes your work ethic?
Ooh. What's that song, J-Rock? Win, win, win?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. What's the most irrational fear that you have?
Most irrational? Failure, I guess.
Failure? I
Yeah.
mean,
Failing, not being good at something, like anything that, I want to do, I put my mind into it, and, I have high expectations, high standards. So there's always the thought of failure, but, I think it's a good thing too, right? If you don't have that scary feeling, then you're probably not doing it right. So
no, listen,
not taking a risk.
I haven't said this one yet. So my irrational fear is getting stuck in elevators. I don't know what that's about. I just literally, every time I get in an elevator, I hate when people jump on it. Like when people jump on the elevator, I used to literally be pissed. Like, yo, please stop. I got stuck in a couple. So,
right. That's happened to me before. It was only like 2 minutes, but I know after 2 minutes I start freaking out. So
yeah, you see so many people get stuck and feel like you're stuck forever. So that's definitely one. This one is funny. If animals could talk, which one would be the rudest?
Cats.
I agree.
Cats are rude.
I'm not a cat person in general.
Yeah.
I don't like cats. I do not like cats.
They have a very savage personality and sneaky.
What's the most useless talent that you have? Hopefully you don't say something like burp, like Chris.
Burp, useless talent?
He said he can make himself burp and he could not do it on demand.
I don't know. Unusual. That's a good one.
Useless.
Oh, useless. I mean, I could sleep real good, man. I
mean, that's beneficial to you. Probably bad to other people. If you were a kitchen appliance, what would you be and why?
I would go big. I like a grill or something like that.
Okay.
Like a, wood fire grill or something. I just love I love live fire cooking action. I love the flavors you get off of it. I love the smokiness. I love how it's so multidimensional. You can do so much on it. So I love a good grill.
Okay. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received but ignored?
I think it's cliche, but just like really being true to who you are, being unique, being your own individual. That's just gonna get you far in this world, right? Like, everyone has that hidden talent that, or that, I think everyone has a gift for a hidden talent, and you never really, like, if you don't have confidence in yourself, I think it's really going to be hard to really reach your full potential. Mm-hmm. And no one's going to have confidence in you unless you have confidence in yourself. So
I feel that. I like that. I agree with that, actually. If you could only keep 3 apps on your phone, which would you choose?
3 apps. Tidal, Need My Music.
Okay.
Does messaging count?
I guess it's an app. Yeah, I mean, I never tried to delete it. I wonder what would happen if you deleted your messages app.
I would definitely say Tidal. Got to keep a social media platform. I do like Instagram, and then I'm actually, so I guess one unusual thing thing people know, I'm a big chess player. I probably play like 15 to 20 games of chess on my phone every day.
Oh, wow.
If I'm waiting around for a second, first thing in the morning, keep my brain going. If I'm stressed into the night, to help me go to sleep. So I'm a big time chess player.
Chess. All right. I didn't know that. We got to bring the board out.
I don't think you want that smoke.
We can do that. All right. So let's jump back in. You said that, you grew up without your dad, you did say you grew up without your dad. You're a single parent now. What was that like for you? Do you know who your dad is? I never actually.
No, I've never met my dad before. We've had a series of brief conversations when I was like 13, and then he ghosted me again. So,
oh snap, that's crazy.
Yeah, never met him before. Really.
Do you think that meeting him at that time was beneficial, or would you just have rather him just like not be around?
I think looking on it today, I'd rather just kind of not be around.
Yeah.
It was beneficial at the moment because I just had a lot of questions. There's a lot of like sleepless nights I remember as a kid growing up where, you go through stuff with your mom or, even people she dated. I'm like, man, I wish I could call my dad or like, I think you have those thoughts like, why is he not around? Why doesn't he love me? Why, hasn't he tried to, build a relationship or whatever it may be? Yeah. And I think now, being older as a parent, knowing that I will go to the end of the world for my kid, no questions asked, it is what it is. So.
Yeah, that's something that like, always has like boggled my mind. It's one thing I just can't seem to rationalize.
Yeah.
Is having 2 kids, even today, like we were coming up here and I'm like, yo, man, I was running around a lot this week. I want to go spend time with my young boy. Like I want to make sure I spend some time with him and like really spend quality time, not just, we're sitting next to each other, but like actually doing something with them. And I don't know how men can have children and just decide.
Women too.
Yeah, women too. But like, just decide like you don't want to be a part of your child's life.
Right.
Like you were a part of creating this little human.
Yeah.
And for me, I just can't wrap my mind around what type of person will be okay with that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any true excuses. I mean, I think there's some reasons, right? Especially in neighborhoods that grew up and like, being incarcerated, or sometimes I think just not really being able to click with the other parent or so.
Yeah.
Either way, I still don't really find it as an excuse to not be present in some capacity, because I think even in the smallest amount, still counts for a child.
Even just calling, like
even just
phone call. You could, and I that's why for me, I'm like, you could find so many ways to be involved in your child's life. Granted, I have Hendrix with me Monday to Friday.
Yeah,
she goes to her mom on the weekends. Rue is at the house all the time. Him and Sean, we all live together, so that has monumentally changed the way that like I interact with the kids and how I show up with the kids. It's like you're involved in everything. And so much so that sometimes it's like, I just need like 2 hours.
Right.
Or I just need a moment. But I enjoy it. Like I enjoy being able to wake up with the kids and be there with them and just having the ability to play the role I have in their life. When you said you felt like there were times where you felt like, like, what do you not love me? Like, how did you navigate that? Because I know for me, it showed up in spaces where it kind of made me feel like I wasn't, like, worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there would be times where I'm like, damn, like, what did I do that this dude doesn't? I almost internalized some of it and made it my thing. Not that it was the right thing to do.
Right.
But there were definitely times where I was like, man, like, why isn't this dude just around? You know what I mean? Like, why doesn't he want any part? I found out he went to the same high school. I found out his family lived across the street from me.
Wow.
Like, all this stuff I found out later in life, and it did not help the situation. I was angry as hell for a very long time.
Well, I think one thing that happened with me, as far as my biological father is, I think mid-20s or so, I was actually connected. I found out I had 3 other sisters in Boston that I never met. So I actually brought the older one down and we, linked up. And but she even told me, she was like, listen, she was like, I live in the same town as this guy. She was like, we could walk across the street and we're strangers. She was like, you didn't miss out on nothing. Trust me.
That's crazy.
Now, the crazy part that I found out was that, mind you, never like talked to him since I was like 13. We had a brief moment. It was kind of messed up because I was working my first like summer job. I remember my mom, a friend of a friend in Boston connected us. And all the money I made that summer, I saved up to go up there for my birthday. I was going to pay for my own bus tickets and everything. I was like, I'll make this happen at, 12, 13 years old. And he just ghosted me right before I was about to go to the bus. So I was like, you know what? Never again. I think it did, because I always look at the pros and cons of situations.
Right.
And, I remember the energy that it gave me of like, you know what, I'm going to prove you wrong. I'm going to be so great at life that you're going to hate the fact that you weren't there for me and all that stuff. And, I think that carries over to how I am now. What's crazy about that? I actually heard that, when I was connecting with his sister, that he was actually in Boston showing people like clippings of, stuff I'm in the news about and all that stuff. And even like a picture of my kid. Like, so he was clearly like social media stalking me too, but never bothered to reach out, his family, all that stuff. So it's funny. I did a whole like little search thing and I realized that he had some family members that followed me and all. I was like, yo, that's crazy.
That's
there's a
insane.
Yeah, but
dog, I mean, I found out that like some of my family members were my mom's clients.
Wow.
Like that. Still to this day, like it hurt like to find out that like these people were that close. And now I will say like his brother has shown up and tried to have some type of role. I've met some of my other family members and they all seem to be really great people. It's just kind of hard sometimes for me because I'm like, y'all had the opportunity to be around all this time.
Right.
And it just didn't happen.
And you're never gonna not think that too.
Yeah. And so like now I'm just trying to like embrace the fact that, I can have some type of relationship. Me and him still don't really have much of a relationship for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Part of that is probably me not being as like, not continuing to reach out as much.
Right.
But I didn't meet him until a few years ago. And that was of my own volition. You know what I mean? Like I just was like, I was so tired just not knowing and knowing that the weight that I carried, I was like, man, I just gotta let this go. Like, I gotta find a way to just, all right, chalk it up. Like it is what it is.
Because at a certain point too, right? Like, people are not going to bring value to you. And, what's the point? Funny stories when we went to Harvard that time for that little trip.
We took the kids up there for the Black Policy Conference.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually part of the reason I agreed to go on that trip was I was actually considering to go meet him for the first time.
Oh, snap.
But you know, I met my sister at the hotel.
Yeah.
We talked it out a little bit. And I was like, you know, I think I'm fine. I think you know, we can leave it where it is. So
Yeah. No, that's good, man. I'm glad you're able to make peace with it because everybody's not able to. And for real, it was haunting me, for real. I can't lie. Like it was times I'm just like, man, like I just carry so much, and then hearing stories and all that, I was like, man, let me at least meet the dude. What's crazy is we had a lot of commonalities, and I never spent no time with him. Like, he was a teacher.
Yeah.
Like all I'm just like, yo, no way. I found out he was an athlete.
Oh,
like all these things, I'm just like, man, like you could have probably played a really integral part in my life, but my uncle, again, shout out to Big She, he was telling me, like, you also don't know how much you might have missed out on. You know what I mean? The disappointment you probably could have missed out on for him not even living up to whatever expectation you had was. And I'm like, you know what? That's a perspective I hadn't considered. So I'm grateful for things, for however they played out. I'm grateful for it. So
always happens for a reason, bro.
No, for sure. Yeah. So then walk me through it now. You know, you didn't have your pop growing up. What was that like for you then? Like, where did you get your cues from in terms of like dating women or trying to be in a relationship? Like, what was your relationship like with your mom?
Always good. My mom is a Leo too. So, you know, I think sometimes it could kind of butt heads. And I was definitely, you know, the kid that, you know, even though I know right from wrong, sometimes I want to see it myself and learn, you know. But, you know, growing up, I've had a lot of, I think, great mentors, people that are in my life. You know, my step-pop, who's the reason why I started cooking. Like, your uncle was always integral to me, my godfather. So I had a lot of great men that were in my life to, you know, fill in for that role. But there's still nothing like, I think, you know, having your actual parents, at the end of the day. I don't care, you know, as a human, doesn't matter who you are, you know, you're always going to have those thoughts, whether you had them or lost them, never had them, whatever. You're going to think about your parents, right?
Right. So then you said that your step pop was integral in your career.
Yes.
What was that like? Like, walk me through that. Like, what role did he play? And I mean, we know, you know, I know the chef that you are. Yo, let me tell y'all, I went to LA one time and this dude had me looking like I was a celebrity. It was so crazy in there that everyone kept asking who I was because I was getting so much food. So that's the type of friendship we have. I don't want y'all to think it's just like I'm just saying it's my man and we're not really cool. But no, you were telling a story actually the other day that I never knew about how you got your start cooking. And so how did you get into the kitchen? And then, tell that story. I think that story is fun.
So initially started off, you know, one thing on my step-pot was that he's a hustle mentality. You know, cooking was the thing that he did. But, you know, you remember back in the day with church, he used to be out there selling lemonade and iced teas and cookies and shirts and all that stuff, right? CDs or whatever.
Shout out to Mr. Nate.
He always had that hustler mentality. So, you know, getting work, I think it was I want to say like 14 years old, started high school. He was the chef at this catering facility right in North Philly. And we just go during the weekends. I was actually serve tables and everything, set up the banquets. And, you know, but then I realized there was a, you know, positive to going in the kitchen and helping them out a little bit. You know what I mean? You get set up because you get to taste some stuff, snaggle some stuff. And, you know, I remember one weekend, you know, they were filled on serving shifts, but they were like, yeah, we need a dishwasher. And I kind of started with that. But I liked the idea. I remember I used to just watch the guys and all a little bit. And then we opened this first restaurant when I was, I want to say 10th grade, 11th grade. So that was like every day after school, you know, building that from, you know, with them from scratch. Like, you know, we're going up to New York, cutting school to like pick up old equipment from closing restaurants to like, you know, building the, you know, the whole, you know, front counter and everything that's still there now. Squeezing equipment, like everything, you know, no loans, just like money saved up. So started with that to, you know, I tell people I still remember my first time ever, you know, like really cooking. So initially after school, you know, I would go down to the job or so, you know, I had to catch like 2 buses and I'll be hungry after school. Like you know, and if the guys were in a good mood, they'd make me some food, drop me some chicken wings or some fried fish or something. But they're in a little rough mood, then I'm like, no, young boy, you gotta wait, make it yourself. So it really started with that, like put up a couple of dishes by myself. And then, you know, this one day, you know, there was a little beef with, you know, between my parents and like the line cooks, and they didn't show up on you know, Sunday was the bread and butter day, like after church soul food, like that was the crowd. You get that hit. And none of these guys showed up. They had an issue with like, you know, switching over paychecks, getting taxes out, whatever. So, and my parents, it was their first like vacation since opening the place. They were just down at the shore, but like just to get away. And or a couple tickets rang in. I'm like, yo, where's everybody at? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I'm on the phone with him. He's like freaking out. We got to close it down. This sucks. I'm calling everybody. And So he calls me back. He's like, man, I don't think anybody's coming in, man. We're gonna have to shut it down. I'm like, nah, man, I actually just put out like 2 orders. He's like, all right, what you got going on now? I'm like, well, this just came in. He's like, all right, do this. And
So you just started cooking.
I remember getting like super focused, but I remember like, oh, running players out. I'm like watching guests when they would taste it real quick. And they're like, oh, this is good. This is tight, But the satisfaction that came from that, being able to serve people, create memories through food, it just really stuck with me. Again, I remember that first service like it was yesterday, and I've done thousands and thousands of services since then.
Right.
But like, something about that day and just realizing like there's so much to learn. And I remember even laying in bed that night, like, oh my God, that was so like thrilling and exhilarating,
Right.
And here I am now. So
Wow, that's dope. So then that's crazy. I mean, you just jumped into the service mid, threw your headphones on, that was your Marshall Mathers.
Yeah.
Dr. Eminem
I listened to
moment.
Lil Wayne at the moment where he just dropped the mixtape at the time.
You
put the lights on dim and just got, just got active. And, again, it just felt so good. And, you just start learning from there. And then, I went to culinary school. And I remember we got that first textbook and I was just like, I kind of went like hibernation mode and just like cruised to every book they gave us that was supposed to last us through the school year.
That's fine.
Just cruised through all of them and then just realizing, man, I still don't know everything. It's like, there's so much to learn. And, that's my favorite part about the industry is that like, no one knows everything.
Right.
No one can actually be the best, and then, food is such a diverse language, right? There's so many different styles of food, so many different cuisines, so many different chefs, right? We can make the same thing and everything tastes different, but it's a way to tell your story and share your emotion. Meanwhile, creating memories for people. Like I have people that come up to me now and they're like, yo, you did our birthday or wedding 10 years ago, 15 years ago, we follow you ever since, whatever it is, but just little events like cookouts, whatever it is. So that's my love. I'll do it for free if I could every day, but
listen, I mean, I think that's super dope. And I think the part I don't want to miss there is that the opportunity for you to be exposed to that. And I tell people all the time, I think the exposure for kids is monumental.
Absolutely.
The fact that you had family that was in the industry that brought you along, that you had that moment where it was either put up or shut up. I mean, which you don't know it then, but in the moment, you're like, all right, I could do this. And you jumped in, you did it. And now, I mean, let's say 20 plus years later, this is now the thing that you're doing. Yeah. You've been at big restaurants, you've been in Napa, you've been all over like cooking and doing your thing. Yeah. And I mean, if y'all haven't, y'all definitely gotta make sure y'all check my man out. But yeah, man, I think those experiences are important and that you capitalize on the opportunities that are put before you. Absolutely. Because who knows how that will shape the rest of your life. You know what I mean? That one moment has essentially defined.
It's who I am, and it's great because like, even right now, I'm still a chef. You know what I mean? Right. Like at the moment, like it's just my mentality. It's who I am. It's a part of, my character when I go out places. Hey, chef. So I'm happy to, find something that I loved and continue to keep doing it because I know that everyone can't say that,
Yeah. So one of the things I want to then ask you is, with the being a chef and working the way that you have, I mean, I know your work ethic. How have you then been able to manage being a dad and being a chef in the way that you have?
Again, there's no blueprint for any of it. Right. Especially in my field where, you're kind of valued on how many hours you necessarily put in. It doesn't mean like the actual work you're doing, but like how many hours you can do. And there's not a lot of people, I think that juggle both and do really well. It is really hard. There's not many, like, especially as a guy, I can't, and I know a lot of chefs all through the country. I don't know how many I can name that I know are single fathers. A lot of them have a wife or a lady at home or the kid is not always with them. So it's kind of navigating both, trying to be the best at, being a great parent, still being aware of everything that my daughter has going on and, trying to show up whenever I can show up and still be involved in schooling and a day-to-day and then also business too. But I think it just comes down to, one, just staying organized mentally and then just taking it one day at a time. I think we try to, look too far ahead. That's when you get overwhelmed. So, I kind of just look at my week, look at my day and say like, hey, this is how we're going to navigate this day and we'll figure out tomorrow when we get there. So.
No, that's dope. So who has been your biggest support in maintaining and assisting with your daughter? Like, I know, when you're at work and maybe you can't get out or you got to go in early or whatever the case may be, like who has been your biggest support in making sure that
I would say
maintain?
definitely, my mom and my grandmom,
Yeah.
it's actually one of the reasons why I even moved back over to the East Coast, having that support circle around them and, them believing in anything that, I put my mind on. And they find ways to show up and it's not easy, but,
Yeah.
it takes a community, right? It takes a village to raise a child. And I'm very thankful to have that. So,
Nah, man, listen, that's why I asked, because I'm like, that grandparent, and look,
yeah,
for us we can even say great grandparents,
right.
because our moms had us relatively young.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that people, it's not something that's overlooked, but it's something that definitely has to be considered when you're talking about having children.
Mhm.
You got to start thinking about the support system, because it's not easy.
Yeah,
You
can't do it on your own. You will struggle. It's it's no easy way to do it. Right? Like,
it's no easy way to do it. But then trying to do it literally by yourself, you can see how many opportunities are like missed out on, or how many moments that you're like, man, I really need to go get out there and do that.
Right.
That you can't move and operate the same way when you don't have the same like systems in place, essentially.
For sure. But I
think
think
you need systems in work. I feel like you need systems in your own personal life at this day and age.
right. And I think there's benefit to that too, right? Like, once I had my daughter and looking at her in the face and first time holding her,
Mhm.
it just changed how I think about things. It thinks about, it changes how I operate myself, right? Because I want to be here, for the long run. I feel like as, we're middle-aged adults, right? Mid-30s or so. And I feel like sometimes we need our parents even more when you're at this age. So, I want to make sure that I'm there for her when she's at this age. And, just knowing that, you make certain moves based on, her well-being as well, not just yourself. Now, granted, I've had those thoughts of man, if I didn't have a child, I can be cooking over here in London, or I could just be pop-ups in New York and over here and, but everything happens for a reason. And, I think that, having a kid does keep me grounded in a lot of ways too. And it makes me really think about, decisions I make, a little bit less impulsive, a little bit more thought out. And so there's benefit in that too.
Yeah, I think too that I know now that I'm happy that parents are being more transparent, because there are a lot of times where I'm like you said, man, I could be over in such and such doing this, or I could be doing that. And not that you're shucking the responsibility or don't want to show up, but there are definitely moments where you always wonder, like, man, what could this have been like? And like you said, it makes you get more creative. It makes you get more strategic. I don't care what nobody says. There is an element of certain things are not necessarily put on the back burner, but they are definitely placed into a different. There's the shift. There's a shift in priorities, essentially,
For sure.
where certain things go from being the main attraction, main event to, all right, I might have to wait a little bit for that. You know what I mean? So I'm grateful for it though, because one, you look at the kids every day and you get to see them, and it's like, you know what? It's a reminder of constantly why you're doing it.
And there's a joy too of watching a kid grow up with good character traits and all those things, and knowing that you were a part of that and you help instill that and build those morals and all those things.
Right.
So,
even being able to just say, "Yo, we going up to see Uncle Eli. We go to the restaurant." Like they get to experience things in a different capacity as a result of us doing the legwork to try to get to the places we want to be. You know what I mean? So even tomorrow, like being able to go up to the game and sit at the classic and be course, like all those things come as a result of the relationships and the way that we've maintained ourselves throughout and our work ethic. So
and there's a mindset too. I'm glad you said work ethic too, because when you have a kid and it's your sole responsibility, it's no time to be lazy. You always got to be on the hustle and find an energy somewhere to make sure that you're doing for not just yourself but your kid too. So
okay, so here we go. What do you love? What is the most challenging part? What do you love, and what is the most challenging part about being a single parent?
Well, what do I love? I think it's a lot of guys' dreams, but no baby mama drama. Right? Man, even when it gets hard sometimes, I look at other people's stories and all that stuff, and I'm like, watch some of these shows on TV, and I'm like, dang, I don't have to deal with the baby mama drama.
Right, I feel that.
It sucks sometimes because you do want that, that mom experience for her. But again, she has enough. She has no one's ever going to take the place of a biological mom. But we have enough great people around, a lot of great females around that, help kind of stir that ship with her. So
thank you, women. Thank you to all the Black women that have shown up for our daughters.
And I appreciate a lot more because, our parents even growing up, and, we're pretty easy, but they were doing it as single parents with 3 kids. And, so I was struggling with one, and I'm like, you know what?
I'm very grateful for Sean. I'm very grateful for Nay being able to braid her hair, being able to put it in styles, or honestly just think about things that I don't know. I was telling somebody the other day, you have a daughter, so you can relate to this.
Right.
When she was younger, just changing her diaper.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I didn't know. Like, I
Yeah.
had to be worried about cleaning this or that. Like, it's something I just didn't know. And I'm
Right.
like, oh my gosh. Like, it wasn't even something that I even
Yeah, you
thought to
think
even
about.
ask.
Right.
Like, oh, when I have to change a diaper, what do I need to focus on? So I'm like, oh, I didn't know. And then now I have my son. I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I've only changed little girls'
Girls'
diapers.
diapers.
Now I'm like, oh,
They're
dang,
different.
I got to
Right.
change his diaper. Like, it's always something different to like learn and operate. But all right, so you said what you love about being a single parent. What is the hardest part about being a single parent?
You know, you can't cut it on and off, right?
Mhm.
Like, I think there's a lot of parents or, you know, fathers, and, you know, I'm not like, but like, you know, I don't really have the opportunity to be like, hey, you know, I'm going to drop her off with her mom for a week or a month while I go
Right.
grind and, you know, figure it out and I'll be back with, you know, like, no, she has to be along there somehow, you know, every step of the way and, you know, be a part of that. So there's just no breaks to it. There's no slowing down. There's no, you know, granted, she gets to go over to grandma's house for the weekend.
Yeah.
Less, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but yeah, just, you know, keeping that in mind of like, you know, there's no,
No,
you can't just
trust
restart
me.
it, you know, get out the game and all that. So
Trust me, man. I definitely understand that. And honestly, though, I'm like, I don't know. Having a break that long in theory for me sounds good, but a week I'd be like, all right, what is like? It would probably
Right.
it would feel weird at this point to not
Yeah.
have the kids with me for that long. I'll probably be like calling all the time, like, yo, what
Yeah.
y'all doing? What y'all got going on? Like that's just it feels super long just because I haven't experienced.
Well,
that
also
in such a long
feels
time.
weird too, right?
Yeah,
Like when I don't
yeah.
have my daughter, and like, you know, it's something that as she's gotten older, I've gotten a little bit more comfortable. And sometimes I just had to like, you know, even when she like walks back and forth from school, I'm
Yeah.
that type protective where I'm like, oh, you can't really ever be out of my sight. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I can't really do what I have to do if, you know, she's always up under me and vice versa. And
Yeah.
at some point she has to, you know, learn to kind of grow up and, you know, feel like an individual herself and things like that, and just start to learn how to navigate.
This is not on the question list, but I'm curious now because I showed y'all the video of Hendrix where she said that she felt like we were trying to control her life.
Right.
What is one of the most outlandish things that your daughter has said to you that made you be like, what?
Man, it's every day. I gotta go through the catalog, man.
Right.
It's,
No, like what's something that sticks out that you're like, yo, this girl.
I don't know. It's hard to cue in on one.
Okay. Well, what has she done that you've been like, all right, how about this? What has she done then that you're like, that's definitely my child? Or what has she done that you like?
Birthday party last year. I still can't get over that. This little girl went and again, she gets it from me. I love throwing events and parties and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So she also, you know, she learned that really young. She loves to cater to people and be a host. And she likes to design too, just like me. She's an artist. So this little girl, she was trying to, for like months too. And she's like going around the whole family, the circle, and like trying to piece it together. But she's trying to throw a party at a skating rink, but with no adult supervision.
Yeah.
So, I mean, she just told, and it was funny how everyone kind of found out. And then we all jump on the group text. And it's like, well, she told me this. She told me this parent was going to be here. She told me there's 3 kids. She created this flyer, sent it out to everybody at her school.
Right.
You know, that there's this party, everything is paid for, everything's included.
And where'd she get the money?
Well, she would, and I didn't peep game because then she would go to my grandma's for the weekends and like, I just want to help grandma. She's understaffed. I want to, you know, help her work. But she's like collecting all those tips and saving it so that way she can be able to pay for this party.
Resourceful, man. Resourceful.
Right. So, you know, and that's one thing about her is like, you know, she was actually, like I found a picture the other day where she was like, I was at Lebec Finn at the time and she might have been 1 year old. And, you know, we had an exchange situation where her mom was around where she would drop her off to work while she's going overnight shift and I'm finishing up. But, you know, I got pictures of her being on a kitchen table in a car seat at like
dope.
1 year old. So like she loves this business. If she ever decides to stick it out, she'll be unnatural at it. Like she knows her way around the kitchen stuff, which is surprising. But yeah, she sent this flyer out. She put her phone number on there. Not one parent decided. I think everyone was like, "Oh, free party, free
out
Friday,
here.
blah blah blah." And something happened where she switched off who's supposed to take her because she was like, all right, if I get my aunt to take me, then she might just leave because she has something to do.
Right.
Well, my sister's on the way up there. She's like, I don't know, something feels a little off. I'll let you know when I get there. And sure enough, 26 kids are dropped off. Half of the parents left. Some of them are still waiting around for this party room that wasn't booked yet. She thought she could do a day of. So that was just, you know, so now my sister is, you know, she's stuck babysitting like 26 kids or something like that. I'm like, how come no parent decided to call me? And I was like,
yo, that's crazy. I mean, that's a Jada, you're resourceful. Wow. That
And even as I'm
that's
getting
crazy.
on her, she's just like, and I'm like, that is my child. I was like, take your glasses off. Don't look like me right now. I was like, don't.
Yo, that's too funny. That's good. That's a good one. All right. What has been your biggest worry or concern by raising her being a single dad?
Um, I mean, I think every parent kind of has this, thought, but like, am I doing it right? Again,
Yeah.
there's no blueprint to this, right? Like, you can make all the money in the world, but then, you see those kids, and I have friends like that, came up very privileged, and
Yeah.
they're like, well, my parents are never there for them. They're always working. I'm like,
Right.
you live in a,
Right.
or, you can, be broke, but have all the time to spend in the world with them, but like, are you really, able to provide for them, things that are necessary for them to have a great life? So, it's just to hope and pray that I'm doing this right, and that she grows up to be the wonderful young lady that, I want her to be. So,
Nah, that's dope, man. I mean, like you said, there's no rule book. There's no way to go about this
yeah.
that can even make you feel, I guess, satisfied. Like, all
Right.
right, I did the right thing. I
You
mean,
could be too much on top of them. They're like, oh,
yeah.
you're too controlling.
Yep.
They want to, and that's when you kind of act out a little bit. And,
Yeah.
that's when kids act out and they want to be sneaky and do things behind your back and stuff like that because they feel like you're too controlling. Or you could be really loose. And then, so
Nice,
it's.
whatever. I mean, listen, when I was in therapy, one of the things that he said is, well, what is your daughter going to complain about? Like, is
Right.
she going to complain that, like, oh man, like she goes to the school she goes to?
Right.
That he's like, so there's going to always be a trap. Everyone's going to,
For sure.
someone's going to complain about something.
Right.
But it's just the things that they're going to complain about.
Yeah, it's like, I could take that. If
your
you're
inner,
complaining
like,
about that, yeah, I could take that.
You know what I mean? There's a trade-off. So it's like, all right, you know what I mean? Like, it is what it is. So, granted, I think that you still listen to what their concerns are, but
For sure.
if you know that you're doing the best you can do and
So
they feel like it's not enough, then you got to just have either a real conversation or just evaluate like what that looks like for you. So I appreciate that, man. So then how do you define, this is a switching gears a little bit. How do you then define masculinity and manhood? What does that look like for you? Because you didn't have your dad growing up. I know you said you had a lot of male figures in your life that were key or integral. How have you then been able to define that for yourself at this juncture? Now you're a parent, you've been successful in business. What does that look like for you? Based on in contrast to what we were told it was.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's really simple for me. I think that's being a provider and a protector.
Okay.
So I have that mindset, I think, with just all females in my life where, if you're around me, I want you to always feel protected and safe, that, and just being a provider as a man, right? Like, doing what you got to do, it's a cold, hard world out here, but being able to just get up every day, strap on those boots and, go out there and tackle it head on, I think you provide those things. Yeah. I think that's masculinity for me.
All right. Well, then now, let's get back to like work, business, all those things. Like you said, you were at Lebec Femme pretty early on.
Yeah.
You then, you left for a little bit. You were in Philly for a while.
Yeah.
And then you left and went over to Napa.
Yeah, I was in
LA for a while. How would you define success then for yourself at this juncture? So like you had a lot of success really early.
Yeah.
What does that now look like for you? What would you define success as now for yourself?
Well, first thing first, I get to wake up and do what I love every single day. It's not a job. It's not like, it's my lifestyle. Being a chef is just who I am, and it defines how I operate every day. I was able to learn a lot from many great people and with, really great experiences. And I'm just a kid that grew up in South Philly. So just kind of looking back on where I came up and what I've been able to do and experience and, just learn under some of the people I've got to work for. Like, I never thought a million years I would ever be in the same vicinity of them. And, we're working on food together and dishes and stuff like that. So, I think, just experience, being, moving out. You always recommend someone moving out of your home state or your home place or so, for a little bit just to see what else is out there. And the experience I got over in California, San Francisco, Napa, was just a different animal. How you look at food, people's behaviors, like, it was just a different mindset. So, but again, success-wise, I am blessed that I'm able to wake up every single day and do what I love to do. So
I love that, man. So then I have to ask then, what was it like when you were still going through or coming through some of the trying times? We just talked about, like, if there's really high highs, there's also some really low lows.
Yeah.
How did you maintain in those low moments to to keep yourself motivated to keep going and maintaining like that? Okay, I know I'm in this spot right now, but it's not going to be this forever. Like, what were some of the things you did to keep yourself?
Yeah,
mentally
it goes back into, self reassuring, having confidence in yourself, knowing that the work that you put in behind closed doors is always going to showcase itself, right?
Mhm.
Like, and if you want to be great at something, right? Like if you don't take the easy route, then it's going to be trials and tribulations.
Mhm.
It's never going to be a straight, easy paved road or so. Like you got to expect those things, take it how it comes. And honestly, nowadays I find it almost fun in a sense to like have certain challenges come across your plate, and you're just like, all right, how do I solve this? How do I handle this? And
Mhm.
I think also too, you go through so many lows in life too, and you're like, you know what? I thought that was the lowest point ever, but I got myself out of it. And look where I came, what came out of that, and go through it again, something different. And it's like I got out of this, it just builds you up, and you're like, man, I can get through anything now. It's
Mhm.
all, I think it's all mindset.
So what was key in what was key for you? Like what were you telling yourself daily? Like what are some of the things you told yourself daily? Or what are some of the practices you had to maintain that kind of mindset? Was there something that you did? Was it something that like, all right, did you do are you an affirmation type of guy? Was it just
Yeah.
like writing it out and seeing it plain as day, like writing out a plan? Like just if someone is in the same spot and they're trying to figure out a way, you know what I mean? What are some of the strategies you use to bring them out of those
I
places?
think it's a little bit of everything. Definitely affirmations. Sorry.
You good? Well, hopefully he doesn't have COVID, guys. No, I'm playing.
I got it from you. Yeah, got it from your kid, man. But
Hey, Rue's healthy.
a little bit of everything. Not last week. He's right in my face as soon as I saw it. I was like, hey, real
Oh
I
my
do it too.
gosh.
But what were we saying? Yeah, so it's a
Yeah,
little bit of everything,
strategies.
right? Like affirmations. Like I'm definitely my biggest one is, 1% better every day, one day
Mhm.
at a time, right? Like I definitely have that focus to just wake up and, I'm never satisfied with any point I'm at in life.
Mhm.
I think we're going through certain lows or certain things that don't go your way. I do try to remind myself, and I think about the really highs that I've had. I've had,
Mhm.
highs that people that look like me and come from where we come from
Mhm.
have never got to experience or touch. So, I always go back to like feeling blessed about those things.
Yeah.
Um, and again, you can't expect life to be easy, man. Like life is gonna, and the higher you want to climb, the harder it's gonna become, man. Like,
Right.
the more people you bring around you, the more people you got to kind of navigate through. So,
Mhm.
and just always being willing to adjust and pivot because again, there's, even with life, right? There's no blueprint. There's no, if there was a scotch free, free way to like, it's like going to be ultra successful and get rich, like we'll all be doing it, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just being able to always pivot, believe in yourself, have confidence, and you got to reassure yourself that you're in this for a reason. And the worst you could do, I think, when going into any type of relationship or business venture, or whatever, is expect failure, right? Nobody gets it right on the first time. You can
Mhm.
fail 20 times, and it just takes that one time to get it right, and set you
Right.
up.
That one time you get it right, people say it all the time, and it seems cliche, but it's true. That one time you get it right makes it feel like you've been doing it the entire
Right.
time.
And those
When you
failures are
know,
good. It's a learning
yeah,
experience.
it
It's
is.
something
It
that you
is.
got to learn from like even when I started, like, even jumping on as consultant for projects, restaurant projects,
Yeah.
because I treat every single restaurant different, every single food establishment, large or small, food truck, stadium, whatever. But like, those first couple openings always went back to like restaurants I worked in the past. And I'm like, hey, well, this one failed because like they operated this way, they did this. This
Mhm.
one was really successful because they did this really well. So just every day identifying those strengths and weaknesses, and the strengths, how do we really play on that? And those weaknesses, how do you build on that and get better? So
Man, while I'm hearing you talk, I'm wondering like what are some of the things that you've seen from really successful businesses, from businesses that have been really successful? What are some of the things that you look at those businesses or restaurants and say they did this well and this was a key to their
you
success?
got to color outside the lines, I think. I think when you try to, because like a key to any, I think, food establishment or restaurant is the story that you kind of have
Okay.
behind the food. I think it, shows with what you serve and, things like that. Um, Sorry, lost my train of thought for a second.
No, you good. You good. It happens, man. We ain't as young as we used to be.
Right.
We ain't as
Starting
young
to think
as we
about
used to
something
be.
else. My daughter texted actually, but
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, she's
So you said that one key for a successful business is the story coming
yeah.
outside the lines.
Color southern lines. I think we try to be someone else, and I see this happen too often, where you try to model your business or the story of your business after someone else, it doesn't have the same juice. It's that saying like, they can steal the recipe, but the sauce won't taste the same, right? But I think when, like, if you look at some of, like, they just had a James Beard list come out, and I look at,
I was about to ask you about that.
yeah, I know a lot of guys on this list, across the country, and a lot of them I've known for years, and a lot of them look when I listen, I'm like, man, you've always had this talent, you always had this gift, but like you weren't able to really, showcase that to the world until you got in your own space. You got to do things, your way. Like, look at some of the best restaurants in Philly. It's getting away from the corporate chain restaurants to,
Which
all
I
individually.
love.
Right. That's the way to go, right?
Yeah.
Like, and it's all individually, owned restaurants, so diverse, and it's always a different story. And like, that's places we like to eat because you can taste it. You can feel it.
You can taste it. You definitely can feel it. Man, I think that's, you said something that I feel like is pretty key there. I think that when you're trying to emulate other people, you're going to get some success.
Right.
You're going to get some success. But when you talk about becoming the best of the best,
right,
it requires a little bit of isolation. It requires a little bit of stepping outside, away from the norm, and coming outside the lines, like you said, in order for people to not only just see you as something different, but also experience you in a different way.
Right.
Because now you're not showing up as this version of yourself that was a bit of this and a bit of that, which you're always going to be.
Yeah.
But I think when you lead with your authenticity first, and that shows first, that is when you start to
people see it, people feel it, people want to support it, and I think it's something that works in my field. Absolutely. So.
No, for sure. And now I'm even seeing it like there are a ton of tips and tricks that I pick up from like other photographers, videographers. I'm watching more people that do interviews and podcasts, and I'm, trying to figure that out. But I still try to put my own little, sheet on it to make it my own, man. So now I appreciate that. So what is one thing then that you would go back and tell yourself at 18? If you can go back and talk to yourself at 18 and say give yourself one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't be scared to hear the word no. And just stay true to yourself. I think, one thing about me in my career is, along the way, I've had a lot of people guide me, some for the best. I think some for their own benefit. And I think it tries to make you, pivot from who you really are as a person. And I know myself, I'm never truly happy with that, right? Like when you're trying to change up to impress someone else, where it's just like, no, I just want to be me and, in my own space. That's what I'm most comfortable in. That's what I find the most success. So it's, everybody has their own lane. Stay on your lane, No,
I love that. I mean, listen, I think for so long, like I've been able to kind of like find my way and like, all right, I land here, this is cool. But I feel like that way now. Like I'm finding carving out my own lane based off all the stuff that I've already been doing. Like these aren't conversations that are new.
Yeah.
We always talk about this, and it's so funny because we would tell people the homies is over. People would think we just partying all night.
Right.
When in reality, especially once like 12 o'clock will hit, you find us in a deep discussion till like 3 a.m. Sun is coming up and everybody like, oh, dang, I got to go. I got to get up. So that's what I've always appreciated about the group of people that we have around us. I mean, I think that everyone brings something to the table that's unique in their own right. And I think that everyone is also very okay with being 100% themselves. And I think that shows through because everyone oozes a confidence that I think comes from knowing who the hell they are.
Right. And everybody has a different lane, everyone's a different profession, all stuff. So it's always, soothing, I guess, to hear people that are, in a totally different lane as you are, but like, with the same kind of mental, I won't say issues, but like, just kind of thoughts and, challenges and stuff like that.
Acumen. So, I would say that because everyone has their own opinions and ideas. I will 100% stand on that. Like I don't think any of us look at things the exact same way, but we can understand why someone might arrive to a spot. And I appreciate that because if there was a bunch of yes men around, that would be trash.
No.
Or everyone that just went ahead with everything like, oh yeah, I agree. Now, when it comes to sports and stuff, certain things you just can't deny. Facts are facts. For sure. But yeah, no, I really appreciate that, man. I appreciate, the ways that you've provided and been a part of the larger ecosystem that is our friends and family. So I'm grateful for that. And so the last question I have for you too is if there's someone that's watching this that may be going through a tough time or they're just looking for a little inspiration, what's your mantra for 2024 that you want to leave everybody with?
Again, and it's something I say to myself every day is that, be 1% better every day, one day at a time. But I think just really believe in yourself, again, like I said earlier, no one's going to believe in you unless you believe in yourself. And don't be afraid to take those risks. Don't be afraid to step up, and take on certain challenges and get out your comfort zone. You'll be surprised, I think, what you find on the other side of that. So,
Man, there you have it. 2024, be 1% better. I need to get 1% less grace. And then also, I mean, it's kind of like Maxey. Like I look at his story, and for me, like watching the basketball part of it as a fan is just incredible.
Yeah.
But this is my man's 3rd year in the league.
Right.
He was in college for 1 year. This man's an all-star. He is showing out.
Yeah.
He had great mentorship last year in James Harden. I believe
For sure.
that unlocked a part of him that has now allowed him to flourish on his own. And I think that anyone watching this or that has watched that boy play ball over the last 2 seasons has seen his evolution, but also seen someone who is given an opportunity to completely flourish. So that's something that I want people to think is like, whatever situation that you're in, whatever you're going through, it is going to get better, because I'm going through some stuff right now that is challenging. But I just know that if I keep putting the reps in, if I keep showing up to the gym every day to go get the work in, eventually it's going to pay
Well, I still
off.
remember, when he first got into the league, it's funny, Maxey, because, he's one of my favorite players. But, I remember talking to Doc about him when he first got in. I remember he would be frustrated. He wasn't getting a lot of playing time because of Ben Simmons. But he was like, the work ethic on that kid is insane. It was like, and you've heard the stories, like, we got to tell him to get out the gym and not to show up to practice and, have people around, like, lock him in the house so he can't, put in the work. So, but I think that's a true testament of the work that you do behind closed doors. Shows.
It's gonna always
make it look easy.
It's gonna always show. Well, there you have it. Episode 5 of Somebody's Son is done. And before we leave again, shout out to Unc, shout out to Keith for letting us be here in the Convo Lounge. If y'all need space and are looking to book and want to shoot something that is as beautiful as this, please get with my man. All right. Appreciate you, my brother, as always. And that's a wrap. What was that like?